Hello and welcome to the Voices of the Past podcast. I'm Jack Monaghan, your host for this episode. Excuse me, I need to change into my narrator voice. Today I am going to share the remarkable story of James McGann, a coal trimmer whose experience has become a significant part of the Titanic's narrative. Although he is an ancestor of actors Stephen and Paul McGann, known for their roles in television shows and movies like Withnail and I, The Monocled Mutineer, Doctor Who, and Call the Midwife. Historians at History Inside a Nutshell have spent a year revisiting his story, and we are excited to share it with you. This is the story of James McGann, but first, let's look at what it means to be a coal trimmer aboard the Titanic. McGann was one of 73 coal trimmers on board. Working inside the coal bunkers, coal trimmers were responsible for distributing coal to maintain the Titanic's balance. Their tasks included carrying lumps of coal in wheelbarrows and transporting it to the bunkers. Once there, they would shovel the coal around to keep the levels even and push it down the coal chutes to the firemen below. After the trimmers completed their work, the firemen would shovel the coal into the furnaces. During the voyage, these trimmers distributed coal to the 29 boilers that powered the ship. The Titanic consumed around 650 tons of coal each day, making the trimmers' work particularly demanding. They had to endure an environment where temperatures could reach as high as 48 degrees Celsius or 120 degrees Fahrenheit. By the end of their shifts, trimmers were often covered in coal, grime and sweat, feeling dehydrated from not having access to water while on duty. Each fireman and trimmer were assigned to 3 out of 6 furnaces. Both had to complete various tasks, which could be hazardous, especially in rough weather. A lump of coal weighing between 40 and 80 pounds could easily fall on someone if it shifted in the dark, as there was little light in the bunkers. While working in the boiler rooms, trimmers followed 3 shifts, the first from 8 a.m. to noon, the second from noon to 4 p.m., and the third from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. The trimmers were supervised by engineering officers, while lead firemen were trained to manage the boilers and keep the propellers turning. Nevertheless, the job was not without its dangers and injuries during a round-trip voyage. Common injuries included burns and sprains. In one incident, a trimmer lost his composure due to the sweltering heat and attacked his colleague with a shovel. Due to the intense conditions below deck, more than a dozen men sought treatment from senior surgeon Dr. O'Loughlin. When not working, the trimmers would have their breakfasts in the stoker's mess room on sea deck or take naps in their sleeping quarters, which they shared along with the washrooms, likely located between D and G decks. It is unknown which boiler room McGann worked in or who the leading fireman was alongside it. However, it is believed that McGann was on the 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. and 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. watch. Before boarding the Titanic, McGann had been sailing the Clipper route on vessels travelling from England to Australia via South Africa. He had been working on the Kinfauns Castle when he arrived in Southampton. McGann stayed in Southampton from March 23rd to April 10th, looking for employment in nearby lodgings. He struggled to find a ship due to a national coal strike that affected workers across the country. Fortunately, McGann secured a position on the Titanic and signed a crew agreement before boarding. There are no records of McGann's whereabouts during the voyage or where he was on April 14th when the Titanic struck the iceberg, 740 kilometres from the coast of Newfoundland. However, given his work schedule, he might have gone dressed in the sleeping quarters when he was informed of the situation later during the sinking. After 2 a.m. on the morning of April 15th, there are records of McGann being on the boat deck. He first climbed up to the officers' quarters where he helped free an Engelhardt lifeboat, specifically collapsible lifeboat B. By that time, the Titanic's bow had already gone under the waves. As the tide was rising rapidly, McGann left the officers' quarters to join the remaining passengers climbing up the deck rail to avoid the rising seawater. On the bridge deck, McGann encountered Captain Edward J. Smith, the Titanic's captain. It is known that McGann provided 4 or 5 accounts to various newspapers, all focused on the same subject. For this reason, the History Inside a Nutshell historians team opted to choose one account that delves more deeply into the events he witnessed. This account is from an interview he gave to the Yorkshire Post dated April 23, 1912, in which McGann describes the moment he prepared to jump from the bridge into the water. Suddenly he shouted, "Well, boys, you have done your duty and have done it well. I ask no more of you. I release you. You know the rule of the sea. It's every man for himself now, and God bless you." Then he took one of the 2 children who were on the bridge beside him. They were both crying. He held the child, I think it was a little girl, under his right arm and jumped into the sea. I jumped right after the captain, but I grabbed the remaining child before I did so. When I struck water, the cold was so great I had to let go my hold of the kiddie. I think when he, Captain Smith, struck the water, the cold made him let go his hold on the child, and he must have been swept away from the boats. Anyway, I don't think he wanted to live after seeing how things were. Dead bodies were all around, floating in the water when he jumped, and I think it broke his heart. I wasn't keen on living myself. It's not known what became of the child, though it's likely this child and the girl the captain had perished in the water. When he attempted to swim away from the ship, McGann was nearly crushed by the second funnel. However, the force of the funnel hitting the water swept him away. It didn't take him long before he found the upside-down collapsible B again. He clambered aboard, and this was where he saw the breakup on close-up. She broke into 3 parts. The forepart went down first, then the middle of the ship, and I heard a hissing as it dropped into the sea. McGann and fellow survivor Isaac Maynard also recounted seeing the captain swimming toward the collapsible lifeboat. When he reached it, the captain handed a baby over to the occupants of the overturned lifeboat. Several people tried to pull the captain on board, but he was washed off. Later, Smith spotted another baby in the water. He swam toward the lifeless child, believing it might still be alive, and handed the second baby to the occupants. When they attempted to pull him aboard again, after he had given away the second baby, he said, "Let me go, boys." Smith then swam back toward the Titanic and was never seen again. McGann became one of 19 trimmers who survived the night, remaining on top of the collapsible lifeboat for hours. He would later board the Carpathia, the rescue ship that picked up Titanic CQD and SOS signals. During the night, he suffered from frostbite. According to Stephen McGann in his 2017 book Flesh and Blood, he describes McGann climbing a rope ladder from the last recovered lifeboat. This account suggests that at some point, McGann transferred to Lifeboat 12 before the vessel sailed to the Carpathia. He became the second to last person to board at 8:12 a.m. The person after him was Second Officer Charles Lightoller. After arriving in New York, McGann was taken to St. Vincent's Hospital for treatment. Once he made a full recovery, he travelled back to England on the SS Lapland. For the rest of his life, McGann publicly defended Captain Edward J. Smith whenever anyone spoke ill of him. In one incident, following the disaster, McGann snapped at a journalist. "How did he act on the bridge while I was there? Always directing the lowering of the boats himself, and he was shouting, 'Women and children first!'" McGann returned to the sea before returning to Liverpool and starting a family. Sadly, he died of pneumonia on May 23, 1918, at the age of 36 at his home. Thank you for listening to the Voices of the Past podcast. If you want to catch future episodes, please press the follow button on Spotify and subscribe to the Ship Nerds Anonymous podcast. Oh, and the History Inside a Nutshell YouTube channel for more content. Thank you for listening and see you in the next episode. Well, I won't see you, but whoever's narrating the next one will. So, doodles.